All right. I don't usually, actually, I don't at all make videos where I just chat. Um, I don't tend to have conversations with myself, at least out loud, very well, or cohesively, or comprehensively. And for this, I have no script written, so I'm not going to be writing anything. I mean, reading anything. I may stumble over myself a few times. I do write and read better than I speak. So I apologize ahead of time for any weirdness or errors I make as I go through this. So just a few things. Especially when I talked about not making videos like this, especially political related ones, I have, during my streams, been a bit outspoken about the political climate in the United States. I don't tend to address much outside of the United States. Um, every country has its issues. Not every country has rainbows and frolicking people in the fields. The United States, I heard some folks say, oh, the United States is going to be fine, and so on and so forth. And granted, the things that are going on with the United States, relatively speaking, pale in comparison to what's going on in other countries. Other countries have bigger, far more devastating events that have been ongoing repeatedly for years, or in fairly recent history within the last few years. So I'm not going to say that the United States issues are worse or better. This is just in context to what's going on in the United States. So I just want to lay that out. So I'm not doing any comparisons or anything like that. However, I will say that the things that happen in each country does have an effect on the rest of the world. It may be very subtle, or it may be very obvious. Just please envision you have a still surface, water surface of a pond. It's early in the morning, the birds are singing, and it's very peaceful. And then some hooligan comes in, throws a pebble out, maybe skips, does a skipping stone type thing on the surface, but it plunks a stone right in the middle of the pond, and then you see the ripples go outward. Each country has that. It may not be as, in terms of the peacefulness, some countries have never experienced peace. So their ripple effect has been ongoing, nonstop. Other countries have, I guess it depends, on how you define peace. But relatively speaking, has had peace, and then you end up with the pond in the middle, pebble in the middle of the pond, and the ripple effect, which has an outward movement, and that outward movement spills out to the rest of the world. So we have some serious overlapping ripple effects. Where the United States is concerned, it has become apparent that things were not necessarily peaceful. If anything, on the surface, it may have appeared that way. But we've had some underlying boiling issues that have been taking place for decades. I can't quite pinpoint when that started. Some folks point out to 9/11 as being the tipping point, but I believe it actually was before that. Now, I'm no historian. I'm not going to be able to just say, yeah, this happened in this year and this era and this person was there and blah, blah. Don't expect that from me. I mean, feel free, please. You can draw some correlation if you wish in the comments. If something reminds you of something in the history that you know of, feel free to share it. At about a decade ago, when the President Trump, well, who then was not president because he was running for presidency the first round. Before that, I was pretty, what's the word I'm looking for? In hibernation mode when it came to the US politics. I was not very involved, and I had pretty much blinders in my life and my family life. I wasn't really looking outward. When Trump came to the scene for running, first round, and stuff started coming out about him. Now, this is not a discussion or an argument about whether or not the accusations were accurate. I think coming out of most recent events, I think you're going to find that perhaps they were accurate, but that's neither here nor there. But it did make me take notice that things were not as they should be. And unfortunately, and I know I'm just one person, but I think there are many of us, unfortunately, just woke up to that, and I guess maybe better late than never, right? So a few things. It amazes me that there is a great deal of people that lack critical thinking skills in the United States. You can chalk it up to maybe education. That's part of it. I believe it is also community related. I believe that there are forces behind the public figures that want it that way, so may have influenced things like that for decades. Just to quote Trump, Trump says he likes stupid people, right? So I feel like the yeast was introduced into the dough. Someone wanted leavened bread, they're not getting it, because someone stuck the yeast in there, and now the bread is rising. That is the United States, and has been. And people are just starting to wake up. I'm not a full-on political activist, but I have commented on a great deal where, on Twitter, used to be Facebook, other areas, trying to help counter disinformation, and it's it takes a community to counter that stuff. So even though I go through this and talking about it, it really requires a united front on everybody's part that does have critical thinking skills and realizes that things are screwed up. And they need to keep pushing and keep the banner of democracy or the flag of democracy erect, and keep pushing and pushing and pushing, and trying to help others who are, who are caught up in the cult of whatever, including the cult of Trump, the cult of disinformation, the cult of ego, the cult of whatever you want to say. Fill in the blank. I leave that up to you, okay? There are people that are never going to change. There's going to be a number of people that are just not going to feel like they can come away from it. They don't want to. They want to be trapped because they like it there. But there are other people that, as Meidas Touch has been reporting, people are starting to find out, oh my God, what have I done? And they were warned. And they were warned repeatedly. They were warned for a decade. And even more. So, but they chose to ignore it. And, but those people, they're starting to realize, and those people that are waking up, those are the folks that we need to bring in and say, hey, welcome. Welcome to our club. And we're glad you're here, right? I think it doesn't do much to say, "I told you so," right? They see it, they hear it, and they realize, wow, I made some bad choices, and I didn't listen. I let my ego play in. I let myself be suckered in. I believed this person. They were very convincing, and they were a good salesman, and I bought the medicine oil, right? So, just a little bit about myself. I used to be a practicing Christian. I no longer am, for quite some time, a few decades. The reason why, at the time I decided to stop practicing Christianity, is that I don't believe that one religion has the right answer to the concept of life, what happens after life, and so on and so forth. Religion definitely has its place. I do believe in spirituality. I do believe each person has a soul or some type of energy in them. As I was telling my husband, I said, when you look at the universe, we're just a miniature version of what goes on in the overall universe, right? So the universe is constantly creating, breaking things down, making something else out of it. The energy is going somewhere. And whether it's in a black hole, the black hole is doing something with it and maybe spewing it back out so that the universe can do something else with it, make something new, right? And so I feel like humans, I know we seem to be this infinitesimal, small little thing and don't matter. Yes, we are small, but we are important. We are part of an overall process. And so I guess you can call it a cog or whatever, but what humans and the evolution, and just the evidence of evolution, the universe on a big stage is reflecting a similar evolution. Just far larger and far more grander and showstoppers. So, at any rate, that's where my brain is. I'm not going to get into it. This is not what this is about. I'm going to talk about philosophy, some of the things I've been thinking about. I do believe, people have soul. We are made of energy. And once we pass, that energy goes somewhere, right? It just doesn't disappear. So the energy may get introduced back into the universe or, whatever, and gets used in a different way. But whatever. So anyway, Christianity, I do not believe is the answer to everything. It is a man-made religion, a religion that tried to explain certain things and to provide moral guidance and teaching so people could keep it together back then. I believe that to be the same of Buddhism, Hinduism, Islam, Judaism, you name it. All right. The spiritual part of us does need to be nurtured and taken care of. I just think about how I know in the United States, I'm not sure about other countries where, someone's going through cancer treatment, how there's an overall treatment of not just the physical, but the mental and the spiritual. And they found that including the spiritual nurturing helps in the overall ability for people to weather their treatment and how well they recover after treatment, and whether or not they recover at all just depends on what stage of their cancer is and how effective the treatment is, right? So religion in itself is not bad, but the weaponization of religion is. Which brings me to Trump and this stuff that's going on. So I'm not going to read through all of this. This is the report, as you can see, final report of the special counsel by Jack Smith. The Honorable Merrick Garland said, yep, okay, we're releasing it. You're good to go, but this is just volume 1. Volume 2 has to do with two defendants, co-defendants, I think. Please correct me if I'm wrong, if I'm not using the correct term. I'm not well read in the legalese. So again, I'm probably going to say some stupid shit. I apologize ahead of time. That the volume 2 is not going to be released. We won't know the content of it because that stuff's going to go to trial, if I understood that correctly. But this here, this case towards Trump was dismissed because of some type of rule in the DOJ that a sitting president cannot be or should not be, I guess, convicted to go serve jail time. But the court did convict Trump on 34 counts of felony, but without any requirements to serve time, house arrest, or anything like that. Unconditional. Right? Unconditional. I think I'm using the correct term. So, for these last few decades, these very things that Jack Smith and his team uncovered is the very things that I and many others that are like me knew, right? This whole report is basically who Trump is. He is not a good businessman. He is a liar, a habitual liar, a manipulator, and will do anything he can to save his ego and to take care of his own. Himself, I'm amazed he even cares about his family, to take care of his family. I think personally, he's taking care of his family just because, I don't know. I don't know if he really has the capacity to love. He's a sick individual. I mean, he's a rapist. I mean, a sexual abuser. I mean, hello. At least that's the stuff I've been reading, and I believe it. I believe the women who say they were taken advantage of by Trump. I mean, it's consistent with his overall personality traits that we've seen. I really encourage you guys to read this whole 174-page report by Jack Smith, the special counsel that was appointed to work on this, work on the case. And do realize, too, that this involved 2 grand juries. The first round, the Supreme Court said, a sitting president has immunity for official acts. And so Jack Smith had to go back through and rework this, and I believe brought in a completely different second grand jury panel to deal with this. And kudos to Jack Smith. I mean, I can't imagine how many nights his sleep went to shit. I mean, I would have lost a lot of sleep with this. I mean, this is incredible. So I would recommend that you guys read this entire thing. Keep an open mind. If you are MAGA and you feel like, it's just a witch hunt, and you're bringing forth Trump talking points, just stop. Don't. I've heard it before, and I don't give a shit. I don't want to hear it. I mean, you're going to probably post it anyway. I don't care. Just know you're not going to sway me. You're not going to piss me off because I know your game. Right? I'm a mom, and I smell bullshit very easily. And I've been gaming for a long time. So I've dealt with lots of people online around the world. I also did customer service for a medical industry I'm not going to name the job I was at, but working with patients for over 20 years. So anything you say to me, I mean, feel free. It's entirely up to you. But just know that you're not going to get a rise out of me. I mean, come on. I don't give a shit. You go take your pitchfork and you go run to the hills. Do what you want, okay? But for those who are like, oh my God, you're in a discovery phase, the F around and find out, and now you're finding out, I really encourage you to read this, okay? Have an open mind. And it is okay to be wrong. The important part is if you admit, oh my God, I made a mistake. I should never voted for Trump. I should have listened to the other folks that were warning against him. Then accept the mistake and do something about it. Do some good. Don't just sit there and say, oh, throw up your hands. Oh, it's over. Yeah, I screwed up. It's over. Everybody's a bunch of imbeciles. No, don't do that. You got to save democracy. For the sake of yourself. If you don't care about yourself, for the sake of your children, right? Especially your daughters. If you have daughters, your granddaughters, your nieces, whatever the relation, even if you don't have a daughter, for the girls, the young women, the women in your lives. This is too important. Please don't take a nap. Don't go back into hibernation. I know it's stressful. It feels terrible. I get that. It still keeps me awake here and there. This is stressful. I understand. Absolutely. And the mental health damage, the toll that this is taking on people for the last decade or more, this is incredible. This is a horrible burden. But as Americans, you must bear it and you must share it. Share the burden and lighten the load and then push forward to make this right. And keep it right. Just don't perpetuate the nastiness of Trump, of Elon Musk. Don't get me started on Elon Musk. He's another one. Birds of a feather flock together. He's no different from Trump. Just to give you a case in point, I've been tweeting it, but tweeting other people's discovery. I'm a gamer, but I don't play Path of Exile 2. My husband does. And I have and I've played other ARPGs, so I have a pretty decent idea on how the game works. Path of Exile 2 is a complex game. It's more complex than other ARPGs. And I would just recommend go on YouTube and do PoE 2 Elon Musk or Path of Exile 2 Elon Musk. Watch other players who are really hardcore, are really in depth in that game on their commentary and what they've discovered. And actually, what their commentary is based on a Reddit thread. So start there first, and then go to YouTube and look at it. So Elon Musk is a fraud, he's a liar, and to be honest, a piece of shit. He's not a genius by any stretch of the imagination. He's a very good marketer, he's a good manipulator, and he loves taking credit for things he did not come up with. Again, if you are a diehard Elon Musk fan, okay, you know what? I'm not going to argue with you on it. The evidence is there that he is an asshole. And not the kind of asshole that you want to put up with. And he's going to be part of the incoming administration. Just FYI, the billionaires that are making up making up the cabinet and that's surrounding themselves around Trump, they don't give a shit about us. Another case in point, Elon talking about the H-1Bs. You guys, these people are doing this to enrich themselves, and you're going to be the ones suffering and shouldering the receipts, the cost. They don't, just because, oh yeah, I voted for Trump. This goes for minority folks too. And it's like, hello, they just wanted you for the votes. They just told you what you wanted to hear. And that reminds me, so yeah, the Christian part of it, I'm glad I'm not part of that world, because my God, the Christian nationalists, get the fuck out. That is not what Christianity is, and you Christian nationalists need to eat a bag of dicks. You guys are just as big of a piece of shit that Trump and Elon Musk is. Yes, please leave comments on my thing, by all means. Do remember what I said. I used to be a practicing Christian. I've read the Bible. I read the Bible about 4 or 5 times through. And I will fight you verbally and counter your arguments with biblical verses. So, by all means, please. I'm not a fucking idiot, but you are. Okay, so anyway, I would definitely recommend reading this all the way through. It's a lot to read, so maybe just take chunks here and there. Take your time. But we'll read this letter by, I will read this letter by, that was addressing the Attorney General that Mr. Smith had written to, typed up for the person. Dear Mr. Attorney General, in the fall of 2022, former President Donald J. Trump was the subject of 2 separate criminal investigations by the Department of Justice. The first was an investigation into whether any person violated the law in connection with efforts to interfere with the lawful transfer of power following the 2020 presidential election. The second investigation focused on the possession of highly classified documents at Mr. Trump's Mar-a-Lago social club following his presidency. On November 15, 2022, Mr. Trump declared his candidacy to unseat President Joseph R. Biden Jr., who had previously stated his intention to stand for a re-election. Mr. Trump's announcement created a highly unusual situation in which the department, an agency within the executive branch headed by President Biden, was conducting criminal investigations regarding his newly declared challenger. Based on a long-standing recognition that, in certain extraordinary cases, it is in the public interest to appoint a special prosecutor to independently manage an investigation and prosecution. You, as the Attorney General, promptly did so here to underscore the department's commitment to both independence and accountability in particularly sensitive matters. Attorney General Merrick B. Garland remarks on the appointment of a special counsel, Washington, D.C., November 18, 2022. On the day that I was appointed, I pledged that I would exercise independent judgment, follow the best traditions of the Department of Justice, and conduct my work expeditiously and thoroughly to reach whatever outcome the facts and law dictated. With the aid of an outstanding team, that is what I did. Upon my appointment, I organized a staff of experienced career federal prosecutors, and together we conducted the investigations and subsequent prosecutions under our mandate, consistent with the department's traditions of integrity and nonpartisanship that have guided all of us throughout our careers. Attorney General Edward H. Levi, who assumed the department's helm in the wake of Watergate, summed up those traditions best. One paramount concern must always guide our way. This is the keeping of the faith in the essential decency and even-handedness in the law, a faith which is the strength of the law and which must be continually renewed or else it is lost. In a society that too easily accepts the notion that everything can be manipulated, it is important to make clear that the administration of federal justice seeks to be impartial and fair. Addressed to the Los Angeles County Bar Association, Los Angeles, California, November 18, 1976. Attorney General Levi's remarks, shared 46 years to the day before my appointment, ring as true now as they did then. I have been a career prosecutor in local, national, and international settings over the last 3 decades, working shoulder to shoulder with hundreds of prosecutors in that time. The prosecutors and staff of the Special Counsel's Office are, in my estimation, without peer in terms of accomplishment, capability, judgment, and work ethic. More importantly, in my book, they are people of great decency and the highest personal integrity. The intense public scrutiny of our office, threats to their safety, and relentless unfounded attacks on their character and integrity did not deter them from fulfilling their oaths and professional obligations. These are intensely good people who did hard things well. I will not forget the sacrifices they made and the personal debt of gratitude for their unwavering service and dedication to the rule of law. Without pause, they had upheld the department's commitment to the impartial and independent pursuit of justice. For that, I am grateful. as I know you are as well. Staffed by some of the most experienced prosecutors in the department, my office operated under the same department policies and procedures that guide all federal prosecutors. The regulations under which I was appointed required that we do so. See 28C CFR. I forgot what that symbol is. 600.7A, and our work benefited from those processes. The department has long recognized that proceeding with uniformity of policy is necessary in the prestige of federal law. Robert H. Jackson, the federal prosecutor, April 1st, 1940. As a result, throughout our work, we regularly consulted the Justice Manual, the department's publicly available guidebook on policies and procedures, and adhered to its requirements. Our work rested upon the fundamental value of our democracy, that we exist as a government of laws and not of men. John Adams, Novenglass, number 7 at 84, March 6, 1775. In making decisions as special counsel, I considered as a first principle whether our actions would contribute to upholding the rule of law, and acted accordingly. Our committed adherence to the rule of law is why we not only followed department policies and procedures, but strictly observed legal requirements and dutifully respected the judicial decisions and precedents our prosecutions prompted. That is also why, in my decision-making, I heeded the imperative that no man in this country is so high that he is above the law. United States versus Lee 106, U.S. 196, 220, 1882. Simply put, the Department of Justice's guiding mandate, which my office strove to uphold, is that power, politics, influence, status, wealth, fear, and favor should not impede justice under the law. When I assumed responsibility for the matters you assigned to me, I came to work with no preconceived notion of what the just outcome of the investigations would be. I was not yet familiar with all of the relevant facts and not yet researched the relevant law, or had not yet researched the relevant law. Depending upon what the investigations revealed, I was equally comfortable closing investigations or moving forward with prosecutions in one or both of the matters, having done both in high-profile matters throughout my career. To make prosecutorial determinations, my office gathered relevant evidence and examined whether that evidence established violation of federal criminal law. In doing so, I was guided by the principles of federal prosecution, a series of considerations designed to promote the fair and overhanded application of the law. As set forth in my report, after conducting thorough investigations, I found that, with respect to both Mr. Trump's unprecedented efforts to unlawfully retain power after losing the 2020 election and his unlawful retention of classified documents after leaving office, the principles compelled prosecution. Indeed, Mr. Trump's cases represented ones in which the offense was the most flagrant, the public harm the greatest, and the proof the most certain. Jackson, the federal prosecutor. As directed by the principals, I made my decision in these cases without regard to Mr. Trump's political association, activities, or beliefs, or the possible personal or professional consequences of a prosecution for me or any member of my office. Justice Manual, I wish I remember what that symbol was, 9-27.260. The likelihood of an acquittal due to unpopularity of some aspect of the prosecution or because of the overwhelmingly popularity of the defendant or his case, or the converse, were not factors of my prosecutive decisions. Id 9-27.220, comment. My office also adhered at all times to the department's policy against interfering in elections. As a former chief of the department's public integrity section, it was important to me, as it is to you, that we adhere to both the letter and spirit of this policy. I can assure you that neither I nor the prosecutors on my team would have tolerated or taken part in any action by our office for partisan political purposes. Throughout my service as special counsel, seeking to influence the election one way or the other, or seeking to interfere in its outcome, played no role in our work. My office had one North Star, to follow the facts and law wherever they led, nothing more, nothing less. While I relied greatly on the counsel, judgment, and advice of our team, I wanted to be clear that the ultimate decision to bring charges against Mr. Trump was mine. It is a decision I stand behind fully. To have done otherwise on the facts developed during our work would have been to shirk my duties as a prosecutor and a public servant. And nearly 30 years of public service, that is a choice I could not abide. It is equally important for me to make clear that nobody within the Department of Justice ever sought to interfere with or improperly influence my prosecutorial decision-making. The regulations under which I was appointed provided you with the authority to countermand my decisions. 28 CFR, is that a subsection maybe? 600.7. But you did not do so, nor did you, the Deputy Attorney General, or members of your staff ever attempt to improperly influence my decision as to whether to bring charges against Mr. Trump. And to all who know me well, the claim from Mr. Trump on my decisions as a prosecutor were influenced or directed by the Biden administration or other political actors is, in a word, laughable. While we were not able to bring the cases we charged to trial, I believe the fact that our team stood up for the rule of law matters. I believe the example our team set for others to fight for justice without regard for the personal costs matters. The facts, as we uncovered them in our investigation and as set forth in my report, matter. Experienced prosecutors know that you cannot control outcomes. You can only do your job the right way for the right reasons. I conclude our work confident that we have done so and that we have met fully our obligations to the department and to our country. Accompanying this letter, I am providing you a confidential report explaining the prosecution or declination decisions reached by the special counsel, 28 CFR 600.8. The report consists of 2 volumes. Volume 1 addresses the election case, and Volume 2 addresses the classified documents case. I understand that you are considering whether all or part of my report can be made public consistent with applicable legal restrictions. See 28 CFR 600.9C. Both volumes minimize the identification of witnesses and co-conspirators consistent with accepted department practice, and we have provided a redacted version of Volume 2 that identifies certain information that remains under seal or is restricted from public disclosure by Federal Rule of Criminal Procedure 6E. Because Volume 2 discusses the conduct of Mr. Trump's alleged co-conspirators in the classified documents case, Wilton Nauta and Carlos de la Vera, consistent with department policy, Volume 2 should not be publicly released while their case remains pending. Though not required, prior to finalizing the report, my office provided an opportunity for counsel for Mr. Trump to review both volumes and for counsel for his former co-defendants in the classified documents case, Mr. Nota and Mr. De La Vera. I'm learning another language, so I'm probably going to pronounce it pretty funny. Mr. De Oliveira to review Volume 2. After the review, counsel for Mr. Trump wrote a letter to you, and we have provided a written response to you, both of which you will find in an addendum to the report. With this report, my service and the service of my staff is complete. I thank you for the trust you placed in me and my team, and for affording us the independence necessary to conduct our work. Public service is a privilege, and we deeply appreciate the opportunity to serve our nation in seeking to uphold the rule of law. Sincerely yours, Jack Smith. So yeah, after that is the cover page for Volume 1. My voice is already gone because I don't talk very often. I think I kind of disclaimed that. So my voice is not used to, my vocal cords are not used to that. So yeah, this is my rant. I really, again, encourage you guys to read this entirely if you're not sure on what means what, because I'm sure there's going to be some legalese. I'm going to probably be in the same boat. Google it. Google it, or if you have attorney friends, ask them, what does this all mean? And just get through it, read it. Okay. Like I said, I don't normally do this, but I feel it's really important for me to say something out and have it on a recording. You guys, we need it. This is a world. This can affect the rest of the world, and we've already seen it, right? Because I think Trump was a test on this first round. And you have the far right or far left, depending on what country you're in, the overly conservative people that say, oh, this, that, and the other, who are prejudiced, who are bigoted, and who are riding on the people's fears, the fear-mongering, weaponization of religion. You see these things, you don't fall for it. Get away from it and call it out and stop it. Just stop it with a frickin', I don't know, thick brick wall. Just get it to stop. Don't let it keep going. It's not okay. I know people are busy in their lives and some people are afraid. I get that. But if you're busy and you continue to be afraid, just think of your children, your grandchildren, your family, your neighbors. I mean, bottom line is that we are a people that are basically one community. We're all humans. We're a huge community on this rock. Yeah, we have different ideas and different religion and all that stuff. Who gives a... Fine, that's great. But it doesn't matter in the end. If our rights and our lives are snuffed out by people like Trump and Elon Musk and the dictators of the world. It doesn't matter anymore. We should all be united against this. I don't care where you're at in the world. And I know others have spoken similar words that I have, probably a bit more succinctly, probably a little bit more intelligently placed or put. But we're all tooting the same horn. We're singing the same tune. Stop this. This has to stop. Humans should be so much further along in their evolution, in my opinion. But you have billionaires that are not interested in that. They want to keep us as peasants. History is just repeating itself. It's just the difference is this landscape has changed. But the players are the same. Recognize it. Stop the bad. Keep freedom. So I'm not going to do very many of these. If you guys want me to comment on something or read something or whatever, please feel free to leave it in my comments. Otherwise, it's just going to be just cozy games. This is not cozy, but that's okay. All right, you guys take care. Have a wonderful rest of your week. And thanks for listening. Bye-bye.